Thank you, Bill. I appreciate the opportunity, and good evening to everybody. If you do not see the slide set titled Starlink Direct to Cellular Service, please refresh your browser, and you should see it right there at the top of the ERC webpage. Those of you who've got it, let's move on to slide number 2. What is it? All right, what is this Starlink Direct to Cellular Service? Well, this is the ability for your phone to communicate directly with satellites for things such as text messaging, satellite-optimized data, and voice calling. Some of you might be realizing that your phones can already do this. Most of the Apple products have a 2-year free service where you can text to satellites, and it works very well, and Apple's done very well with it. But this is a little bit different, and I hope to explain some of the differences here. One of the other things that's really great about the Starlink version is there's no additional hardware you've got to put in your phone or attach to, and there's no additional user action required, meaning no pointing your phone at the sky, no entering into special satellite modes. You just leave it in your pocket just like normal, and it just works. So let's move on to the next slide. How does it work? So, unlike traditional satellite constellations that are used for communications, Starlink satellites are in what they call low Earth orbit. So they're around the 300-ish miles above the Earth's surface, whereas traditional communication satellites are what they call a geostationary orbit, and they're further up around the 22,000 mile mark, give or take a couple thousand miles. It doesn't really matter that much up there. So, long ways up, right? But think about the amount of effort it takes, the energy, the antennas, the special equipment it takes to get that signal 22,000 miles versus 300 miles. The 300 miles is a much easier trip to make. So this allows them to function much more like a terrestrial cell phone tower than a traditional communications satellite. Really, the only difference between a traditional cell phone tower is that it's not connected to a concrete pad. It's connected to a satellite. They've just put a big directional antenna on it and shot it into space. Sounds pretty easy, huh? So really, the hardware it's very similar to a traditional terrestrial cell phone tower with a few things to make it work and to compensate for stuff like Doppler shift, all the fun satellite stuff. But very, very similar to what we just have down here on Earth, which is why it works so easy with our normal cell phones. So let's move on to the next slide. What are the benefits? So I alluded to this earlier, but with the Starlink constellation doing this for our cell phones, you don't have to point your phone at the sky. It does need to really be outside, but reports have had it working in your car or possibly even like under light roofs, sometimes in homes. People haven't really got that great of results with it inside buildings, but it really works very well in your pocket, though, while you're outside hiking. The other huge benefit is you don't have to manually connect to the satellite to check to see if you have messages, right? That's kind of back like in the packet days where we have to connect to the packet node to say, hey, do you have any messages for me? And the packet node says, oh yeah, here you go. That's kind of where most of the cell phone to satellite to cell phone communications are, like the stuff with Apple and some of the stuff with Samsung. They all you have to initiate that connection yourself. Whereas with the Starlink, it just works like the normal cell phone tower. It's just always connected. And it's really got some pretty awesome height above average terrain, right? So we don't have to really worry about going into the canyon and losing losing signal because it's right above you. So works really, really well. There's some great benefits to the way that Starlink, SpaceX has tried to set this up. So let's move on to the next slide. So this next part is based on my own experience in getting this service. So I personally have my cell phone through Verizon, and I like Verizon. I wanted to stay with Verizon. But SpaceX and T-Mobile are actually the ones that have partnered up in the USA to provide this service. So here's a few things to go with that. You do not need to be a current T-Mobile customer. I can keep my Verizon number. I don't have to transfer my Verizon phone over to T-Mobile to get this to work. You do need to have an unlocked phone, right? So a lot of times if you're under contract through, Verizon or AT&T, sometimes they will lock your phone so that you can't go get service through another carrier. So just make sure your phone's unlocked. You can do a Google search and figure out if for your specific phone and operating system if it's unlocked or not. You do also need to have a free eSIM slot on your phone. So some phones just have a traditional physical SIM card slot. If that's all it supports, your phone won't work for this. There are certain devices that this will only work with. I will spare you the list on the air, but you can go to T-Mobile's website and they've got the whole list right there on what phones will work. Basically, any phone that's built within the last, I think it's 3 or 4 years, is capable with this. But it does need to have a free eSIM slot. Most of the phones nowadays have 2 of those. So your normal cell phone number is connected to one of them, and when you get this service, if you're not a current T-Mobile customer, they'll use that second eSIM slot to connect you to the Starlink satellites. If you are a current T-Mobile customer, there's a good chance you might already have this service. If you don't, you can add it for like $15 a month. And same thing for those of us who are not T-Mobile customers, it's $15 a month. $10 for your first month, but $15 for the rest. So let's go on to the next slide. What T-Mobile does. I kind of got ahead of myself here, though. So, like I said before, if you're a T-Mobile customer, you might already have this. You can go ahead and call them or look on your app. You might be surprised to have this service already. If you don't and you want to set this up, though, here's how I had to do it. I had to call T-Mobile directly. There's no way to do it online or sign up for it on their app. You have to call them directly if you're not a T-Mobile customer. And you do have to set up a T-Mobile account with them for billing purposes, right? You still got to pay them the $15 a month for the service. You'll also have to politely decline their offers for you to switch all of your cell phones and your firstborn child's everything to T-Mobile. But they were really pretty kind. I told them I wasn't interested, and that was the last I heard of it. So they were good to me. The biggest thing that I was surprised with, and not being a T-Mobile customer, is that they could not use my normal cell phone number to connect that to the Starlink satellites. They had to issue me a second cell phone number to make this happen, which honestly I almost feel like is a benefit to me, because I can still do voice calling and texting from my normal cell phone number over the data side of it. My phone currently, because I have an iPhone, that part of it isn't supported for another month, but in another month or so they're supposed to open that up for the data side so that you can make those text messages from your normal cell phone number just over the data plan. I hope this is making sense to everybody. If I'm using too many words, my apologies. We'll open it up for questions and I'll stay after a bit too. But as I was saying, that second cell phone number is almost a benefit to me, because when I'm out and about, I almost don't want everybody to know how to get a hold of me. But those who I do care about, my wife, my boss, whatever, maybe not my boss, I can give them that second number, and that's the one that works for texting anywhere, which is super, super nice. So I know that was kind of confusing. I hope I didn't slur that too much, but there's kind of the gist of what I had to do to get signed up for this service, and so far it's been working. If we move to the next slide, I'll share with you the biggest caveat I found with this system so far. Hey Bill, the repeater is coming in a little fuzzy to me. Is my audio still okay?
Your audio is fine, K7DAE.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so here's the biggest con I've found so far. This service doesn't actually activate on your phone. It's prioritized not to activate until your normal cell phone coverage says no service, and then the Starlink coverage kicks in. But the other thing is it doesn't activate until you are in a location on the map where T-Mobile says that there's no coverage. So in my testing with this, I found that, there's places where I don't have enough coverage to send a text message with my normal cell phone signal, but the Starlink service won't activate because on the map I'm in a location that says I should have service, right? So this is a big thing that I know a lot of other people are complaining about too. So we're hopeful that they will take everybody's comments and program it so that when you lose cell phone signal, whether you're in a zone or a location where the map says you should have signal or not, it kicks in and starts working. But when you are in those zones, it seems to work just fine. And they're bringing lots of good stuff online, like right now on certain phone models and rolling out in the next couple months to all of the compatible phones. You can do much more than just text messages. You can use Google Maps. You can use the OnX Backcountry Mapping Suite. You can use, what's the cell phone app? It's not GroupMe, it's, oh darn it, hold on just a second. WhatsApp. And some people have even reported that you can make cell phone calls and video calls via WhatsApp on the T-Mobile Starlink setup. I personally haven't had that luck, but I also have an iPhone, so who knows if that's what's the problem or not. But there's some way cool stuff coming on. But that is the biggest caveat I found so far. With that, we'll move on to the next slide. And I know there's probably a lot of questions, so we'll just take a couple here, and then we'll release everybody, and I'll stay afterwards a little bit in case we have some more questions. So with that, we'll open it up. Please come with your call sign.
Kilo India 7, India Quebec, Kilo.
India Quebec, Kilo, go ahead.
So I did pull the trigger and jump to T-Mobile, and the one thing that I do like about that is it's fully transparent to me. I can receive texts from anybody at any time. If I have cell coverage, it comes to my cell phone. If I don't, it comes through the satellite and it comes to my same number. But I suspect that's the carrot they got to get me to switch. KI7IQK.
Thank you for that. That would be nice, and I can definitely see the benefit there, but I just don't want to give up my Verizon service. I'm stubborn. So there's the workaround. But thank you for that comment. Very valuable. Additional, please come now.
KG7LHT.
LHT, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if someone tried to call me, say I'm sitting here in a T-Mobile area, and someone tried to call me on this other number, it wouldn't come through at all, or how does that work?
That's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer to that. From the documentation I've read, it sounds like it's a data-only number, but I haven't personally tried to call it, so I don't know that I have the answer to that for you.
So you really totally have to be outside of one of their map areas for it to go through as a phone call then. Is that what you think?
You have to be outside of their mapped data zones for it to even activate and turn on the satellite side of it, which is really kind of a stickler for me. But right now, the only way that the folks have been saying they've been able to make voice calls is with the WhatsApp app, and that's only on certain phones. As they're rolling this out, they're right in the brand new stages of this. So as they're putting more satellites up there, they're going to be able to have more bandwidth to let more people do everything with it, right? So, but it's still not. It's still in its infancy. Maybe not infancy. It's in its it's in the 2-year-old stage where it can do a lot of good things, but it still gets feisty every now and then.
Okay, and you said there was somewhere we could go to find out what all the services and what phones it'll work on and so forth. Where was that again?
If you Google T, the letter T as in Tango, Tango-satellite, that's all you have to put in, T-satellite, into your Google search engine or whatever you use. It's the very first link that comes up, takes you to the T-Mobile website, and it's got all the Q&A on there on, what it can do and what phones work with it.
Okay, thank you very much. KG7LHD, clear.
Not a problem. You're welcome. And one other thing I might add here, guys, is I know that we're in the amateur radio realm, but we're really emergency communications, right? So that's why I brought this up. Is this is just one more tool in the toolbox, and obviously it's not a cure-all, fix-all, but for me, it's one of those tools I wanted to have. So I've enjoyed playing with it so far, and I hope that they work out some of these bugs and it keeps getting better. So. It doesn't replace the need for radio and all these other tools we have, but it can be a very valuable one, I feel like. So let's take one more question and we'll release it back to net. All right, maybe not. I ran out of, must have scared everybody off. That's okay. All right, Bill, it's back to you. K7DAE, thank you.